The Astros rated the 5th best franchise of the last 25 years by The Athletic. Does that pass the eye test of Seth C. Payne?
It wouldn't, only because it's hard to erase the memories of the early aughts when they were just stringing together 90-plus lost seasons with an alarming regularity. Some of you might remember and feel that. Yeah, you have the emotional scars from all of that.
Lost 111 one year. Yeah,
and the fact that there's teams that have won multiple. Well, the Red Sox. The Red Sox were above them. This is an objective list, though. They go by a point system.
It's totally done empirically. You get X amount of points for World Series wins on down. Yeah.
But for the entire, I think the one thing that you kind of forget, though, too, because the eras of this current World Series run, Astros, it's so far removed from the early 2000s when the Astros were going to World Series and still very good that it makes sense once you think about it. There is a part of me that even puts the first World Series they went to, I almost put that in the previous
90s?
century.
Yeah.
Yeah, the centuries for my Astros are like pre-2010 is almost the 20th century. Yeah.
I think it's amazing that they're 5th. And there's zero recency bias with this. They don't weight the most recent years. They've had the Athletic said they've had people suggest they do it that way, that the more recent stuff gets weighted differently.
Dumb.
Yeah, they've had it suggested.
If you're ranking the best the last 25 years, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
I agree with you. It's amazing the Astros are 5th, though, when you consider they, from 2000 through 2014, made the playoffs 3 times. Not won a World Series. I mean, they made it to a World Series. They made it to an LCS. They made the playoffs in 2001. Over a 15-season period, they made the playoffs 3 times. And in 10 subsequent seasons, they did enough to get them to be the 5th best franchise. I mean, it's a numerical, empirical way to look at just how amazing this run that they've been on the last 10 years has been.
To go to the ALCS as frequently as they did in those consecutive number of times in non-COVID seasons, it's really remarkable. It was a remarkable stretch.
Yep.
There is someday I'll be old and grumpy enough to feel jilted that they only won 2 World Series.
I know. Well, and especially when you consider the 2019 one where they just had to win 1 home game and they would have had a 3rd. That does hurt to go back and look at, man. So I thought that was pretty cool. If you haven't seen that in The Athletic, the teams that are ahead of them, by the way, Yankees won. These are the best teams just based purely on accomplishments, postseason and otherwise. Yankees 1, Dodgers 2, and closing fast on the Yankees. St. Louis 3. St. Louis is like the opposite of the Astros. They made all their hay in the first part of the century, and they've been trashed. Boston 4 on a tiebreaker with the Astros.
A tiebreaker with the Astros. The fact that the Red Sox won 4 World Series is one of the things that that was the number one tiebreaker, I believe. Which is honestly, in my mind, the fact. If you can make a criteria up however you want. I mean, the Red Sox have won 4 freaking World Series, and not to mention the number of titles that other teams in that city have won. I feel like emotionally I want to put them higher than the Cardinals or the Dodgers just by virtue of how many World Series they've won. The thing that the tiebreaker though, where there wouldn't have even had to have been a tiebreaker, and this is the weirdest thing amongst these top 5, is that the Astros got docked points for 3 consecutive 90-loss seasons.
Whereas, they kill you. If you're a losing team for a sustained period of time, they've come up with some negative points for you.
Yeah, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Cardinals, and the Red Sox had 0 consecutive 90-loss seasons.
Yeah. So 5th is pretty good, man. When you consider, I was opening up that list yesterday. I'm like, I don't think this is going to be as high as I think it is. 5th was pretty good.
You know what I liked about this? I hesitate to even click on articles like this anymore because I dread the inevitable reference to the being better than everybody else scandal. And there was no reference to that in this blurb.
No.
So
good job,
tip of the cap to the Athletic.
Big time. 2 Astros youngsters, prospects, are getting some love this morning. Massive love for Cam Smith from this Jeff Passan article that I'm looking at here. Jeff Passan had 10 prospects that scouts are buzzing about right now down in, or what I say down in Florida, either in Florida or Arizona, wherever your team happens to do spring training. The Astros are in West Palm Beach. Cam Smith getting a ton of love, and I think, look, I'm hearing it from people. I'm seeing it like, boy, if he keeps doing this, is he going to make the major league team? He's not making the major, barring injuries. He's not making the major league team out of spring training. I don't think. Yeah, I feel very confident in that.
And even barring injuries, including if the Astros get off to a bad start, I think. Mm-hmm. He's had very few games in Double-A even.
5.
I think that, yeah, he was playing college baseball this time last year.
Yeah.
I think you got to pump the brakes a little bit. It's not like I see people agitating that you got to play Cam Smith now.
No. Here's what I'm saying. They're allowing it to enter the chat. They're like, well, maybe he'll make it. And
selfishly, this is what, as an Astros fan, you shouldn't want Cam Smith to get elevated early, just by virtue of service time.
Correct.
You wanna wait until after the service time deadline to where you get an extra year of arbitration out of him before he hits free agency. Because I'm just telling you, everybody. Sean and I were lucky enough to be at spring training last week. Mm-hmm. Wait until you see this guy in person.
It's amazing.
Wait, it doesn't look right, him at third base.
He's a specimen.
He looks like a wide receiver playing third base.
He does.
He is physically impressive.
He's very impressive.
And now there's a chance, though, too. One of those, let's say injuries or horrendous performance off the field.
Okay.
Because there's a good chance that if Chaz doesn't get it going, they're going to have to start thinking about somebody else at right field.
Yes.
And Cam Smith might make a lot of sense out in right field.
Yeah.
Maybe even long term, given how big he is.
Yeah, I think it would probably be in conjunction with the team underachieving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if the team's winning and they're mucking it together with an outfield that's definitely – I have a hard time envisioning this outfield being anything but subpar, even on a good team. If they're winning, I think they'll muck it a little bit longer. If they're losing games, you got to do something, you know?
Look, this is the thing I get most excited about. It's an extremely small sample size. At the time that this article was written, he had 7 at-bats where he's had 2 home runs and a triple, but then walked 4 times.
Right.
Against 1 strikeout.
Yes.
So that is an extremely small sample size, and yet that's judgment at the plate right there. That's not – we've seen plenty of prospects come up. Some of them that might be on the opening day roster that hit a bunch of home runs or hit for power but strike out like crazy. And that's not been the case so far with Cam Smith. That's a really exciting thing.
Yeah, here's Passan's last sentence on this whole scenario with Cam Smith. I'm with you. I'm super excited about Cam Smith. Before we get to the next prospect here, Passan says, power is great. Good swing decisions are imperative. Both together is a rare combination. And while the Astros' infield defense would be questionable with Smith at third and Isaac Paredes moving to second, it's going to happen. That's Passan is stating it as fact that it's going to happen at some point here. The Smith at third and Isaac at second, and that's where it'll be an adventure.
At some point, that doesn't mean this year even.
Right.
He's just saying it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen.
No, the way that Dana Brown and Espada talk about Cam Smith is way above and beyond how they've talked about any other prospect that I can remember since those guys have been there for their short tenure.
Yep. Spencer Arrighetti's the other one who's getting some love from the Athletics. 6 of MLB's top breakout pitching candidates for the upcoming 2025 season. And they raise a bunch, and Spencer Arrighetti, Seth, has been kind of like sort of a forgotten man in all the in the pitching litany here for the Astros, because Hunter Brown is getting that ace love. He wasn't great yesterday in his start against the Cardinals. By the way, if you missed it, the Astros beat the Cardinals yesterday 6-5. Jose Altuve had a home run. Jeremy Pena had a home run. That was good to see. Framber's Framber. He's always going to get some love. And then I think you got Wisniewski, who came over in the trade, so he's under a lot of scrutiny. You've got Ronel Blanco. He's under, he was performing at an all-star level at a point last year. So there's, boy, can he sustain that? And then there's sort of Spencer Arrighetti, who's kind of been floating in the middle here.
Despite a very promising debut last year.
With extremes, though, right? Like the bad starts were really bad. The good starts were really good.
Yeah, I thought I saw growth in his mindset last year. There were times where flirt with strike zone, and he's addressed that. He addressed it within the season, but this year in the offseason, he's made it a point of focus to just attack the strike zone more. You're not gonna fool major leaguers the way you could fool minor leaguers. Brian McTaggart had a good interview with him where he talked about that, and that part, because we saw it last year, him actually make those adjustments in season, I feel relatively confident, given the Astros' ability to develop pitchers, that he's just going to continue on that same track.
The optimism, the reason why this article showed so much optimism in Eric Getty is they said that the reason why he had an ERA of 4.5 last year, despite some of the advanced stats saying that he should have had a better ERA, 3 reasons: bad luck, walks, homers. Now, one of those things is just you can't control, bad luck, and they said that. They said the chances are his luck will be better this year. The other 2, you go, well, walks and homers, those are kind of a problem, The point they make in this article is that there were some positive signs with his command as the season went on, and that command is something that's not very sticky year to year. There can be a lot of variance with command from year to year. So there should be optimism, or could be optimism, that he gets better in that department.
Well, I think the big thing is the big thing that doesn't necessarily change year to year that you can get better at is that how do you manage your command, and what do you know, and that speaks to him. I think feeling like his level of command was better than it was when it comes to the major league, and when you try to get too cute strike zone, you can't get away with it, because they're gonna go out and crush you, then rock you if you don't have pinpoint command.
Yeah. The homers, the thing they cite here is it's just not a big enough sample size yet to know if he has a home run. He's never had a home run problem before. He had one last year, so wait and see is kind of what they're saying. But they're very bullish on Spencer Arrighetti, as am I.
No, and I think the one big thing last year with him was that he had a few really bad games. What's the worst one? In June, he gave up 7 earned runs in 1 1/3 inning.
Yeah.
He had another one where he gave up. He gave up like 6 runs in a couple of innings, another couple times. But it was so you take out the outliers and everything, and it was a pretty damn good year for a rookie. Yep.